The following video you are about to watch contains adult language. Probably didn't need to say that, but I will, because just in case someone is bothered by that. Tacos. And now, a quick warning and apology. This video ends up kind of becoming far more negative than I would have liked it to be. Not negative about the show, but about the more negative side of the fan base and how it negatively affected my experience watching something that I absolutely adore. I am very bitchy and ranty in this video, and I am very sorry if that bothers anyone, because I know that it bothers me. It really, really started to bother me because I don't like being that kind of person. I don't ever want to make another video quite like this again. I make these videos to show how much I adore RWBY, not to whine and complain about people who whine and complain. I also want to be as clear as I can and say that I have no problem with legitimate criticism. There is nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's very healthy. My problem is with blind, over-the-top hate that is there purely for the sake of it. If you have criticisms of the show that you feel are legitimate, that is fine. In fact, I'd love to discuss them with you in, a far better way than I end up doing here. I hope anyone who checks out the video can forgive my kind of shitty attitude. It's probably not as bad as I think it is, but it still felt wrong all the same, even if I was just defending something I love. I mean, you don't stop hate by being hateful. So, thanks for checking out the video, and I hope someone can gain some form of enjoyment from it. I'll see you guys in the fall, where I promise I won't let this kind of thing get to me again. Hey, hi-ho, and howdy, everybody. My name is Shannon Shook, and today I'm thinking about talking about something just a little bit extra. This is a weird episode. It's gonna be so weird, and it's 100% my fault. I get it. I understand. I realize this. It's my fault. Everything's my fault. This channel is hell. You know whose fault it is? It's not fucking Steve's. As much as I hate that motherfucker, it ain't Kevin. It ain't even the young boy Bento. It's Shannon's. It's Shannon's mistake. Also, Deadpool, you're looking at me in this ad, and I don't know how I feel about it. You're making me very uncomfortable. I need an adult, and preferably one whose last name is not Reynolds. Or Brolin. I feel like he'd put on a glove and do things to me. Anyway. Hi, everybody. My name is Shen. What? That's not my intro. What is wrong with you? How dare you be so candid? This is entertainment, boy. Shitty entertainment, but you commit to the bit. Hey, hi-ho, and howdy, everybody. My name is Shannon Shook, and welcome to something that's way overdue. So this video was supposed to come out months ago. And it hasn't, because your boy's retarded. It's just, I believe that's the long and the short and the middle itty-bitty bit of it. Yeah, so let's go into real quickly why this hasn't come out. And I have a problem. I notice every once in a while I tend to just do this thing, and I don't know what it is, why it happens. But sometimes I just hit a brick wall when I'm doing certain kinds of content out there, and it just stops dead in its tracks. And I try so hard to make it not do that, but it does, and I have no excuse for it. There's no reason I shouldn't. That I should not be able... Yeah, no, shouldn't was what I was looking for. God damn it. That I shouldn't be able to do it. There's no reason why I couldn't just sit down and talk about the last 2 episodes of RWBY Volume 5. There's no reason why I couldn't. Also, if you haven't noticed, we're doing both episodes in here. And it's going to be a little different. Because so much time has passed, it's way too fucking late. So at this point, I'm just going to cover the main topics. You know what happens in the episodes. If you don't, why the fuck are you watching this? Is it because you love me? Is it because you love my pretty little face, even though you can't see it? It's terrible. It's really funky now that I got a whole beard thing going, but it's a real fucked up. It doesn't grow on the face nearly well enough, so it's mostly neck. Point is, I should invest in a fedora. Complete the fucking set. Anyway, yeah. So this episode, this video isn't gonna be quite like the normal review caps. Because we're just gonna skip past most of the stuff. I just want to hit a couple main topics because I want to get these videos out because I know there are people out there who still do enjoy this kind of shit. So I should probably actually make the video that I promised them months ago. And to the people out there who are still around despite my complete lack of fucking anything, I do greatly apologize for leaving you guys hanging like that. Again, it's probably not a big deal. You probably completely forgot I existed, but just in case you didn't, I am sorry. It was, again, I don't know why it happens, but I hit just a brick wall, and it's the same exact thing that happened. If you're at all familiar with my channel, it's the same exact thing that happened in the previous volume of RWBY. I hit the 6th episode, did it, and then just hit a wall. I couldn't bring myself to sit down and do the rest of it. I wanted to, it's just I couldn't. I for whatever reason, every time I would try and speak, I just stopped. I couldn't write anything, which is really fucked up and difficult when you're doing a scripted show. I couldn't do anything, and I don't know what that's about. I don't know why I do that, and I don't know how to really get around it. In the end, I'm compromising here because I really want to get this out. So instead of just doing the full thing, I'm doing whatever I can to shorten it up and just make it easier for my brain to work. Again, I admit, haha, I'm retarded. I think I might actually be. No offense to anyone with actual legitimate mental disabilities, like, oh yeah, no, fuckface, that's great. Why don't you make light of our situation? But like, there's something fucking wrong with me. It's probably just because I'm a douchebag. But point is, I do apologize it's taking this long to get there. If you stuck through this intro, I'm sorry that you had to sit through it. I wanted to explain myself for my shitty fucking behavior on this channel. Hopefully, I can work to not be doing this in the future. And I'll admit, it's the same thing that happened earlier this fucking volume already. It happened after episode 2. After I went on my trip and then came back, I hit that wall again and then started doing the unscripted videos. I can say whatever the fuck I was gonna say about how, like, oh, it was this reason or this. No, it's because I hit this fucking wall and I can't get past it. And it's probably gonna happen again. It's probably gonna happen next volume. Who knows what's gonna happen when, but I don't know. I hit it, and I'm sorry because it gets in the way of the few people who actually do enjoy this stuff. So I do apologize. I'm sorry again for the long intro. But yeah, no, this video we're pretty quickly just cover the last 2 episodes of RWBY, and again, just the big points that I feel I've wanted to talk about for a long time. In the 13th episode, it really boils down to, I guess I have a little bit to say on Adam. Yeah, Adam and Blake and the whole thing, really. And the other thing I have to kind of talk about is Cinder. Other than that, I'm a fanboy. You know what my opinion on the episode as a whole is. You guys know what my opinion on RWBY ever is I like it. And very, very rarely do I ever have a legitimate problem. I have a little bit of a complaint as for the last episode, but other than that one thing, I think it's a fucking perfect episode, and it's probably, I don't know if it's my favorite finale. We'll get to that in a minute. Also, I think, I don't know, maybe we'll make that a second video. I think I'll do a last minute, just overall thoughts for Season 5, because I know Season 5, it's a weird thing. It's got the kind of Last Jedi thing going for it, which I still have never seen, but I have had pretty much all of it spoiled for me, because I purposefully looked it up, because I'm a fucking idiot. But it's very polarizing. Either, generally speaking, you love it, or you hate it. And I'm sure there's a decent number of people in there who are just, like, cool with it. It's kind of like RWBY itself. You love it, or you fucking hate it. And it's a difficult thing to get talking about. And I'm sure in that episode I'll go on to talking about some recent videos that came out from other RWBY content creators, fan content and shit. People like, I believe, Hero Hey,
Claxon. I don't know her name. I'm so sorry if I'm fucking that up. I'm definitely fucking that up. If you're watching, I suck. And Thomas Vaccaro. I think that's the last name. Man? Person? Individual? So yeah, no, I'll probably get into that stuff. Anyway, yeah, things for this first section will be about episode 13, and that's mainly the Adam Blake stuff and the Cinder discussion. Other than that, I liked the episode. I have no complaints, and I don't even have any complaints about those two things. I don't have any complaints about episode 13. I fucking loved it. Again, I have one little thing to say about episode 14. Other than that, I don't know. There's probably, I'll talk about Leo. Maybe I'll talk about the Salem scene. And I will just fucking fillet one of my favorite moments in all of RWBY. And you already know what it is if you know what episode 14 is, because it's the best fight in fucking RWBY, and no one threw a single fucking punch. Anyway, let's go on to episode 13. I'm sorry that it's taken so long to get through this. Hopefully you're still sticking around. I am fucking out of breath. I don't know if it's just because I'm fat, or if it's because I'm nervous because the wall. Anyway, episode 13. Let's start off with Adam. The Adam and Blake situation was one of those big complaints of this season, was how Adam was handled. And I want to be as kind as I can, but I'm not gonna be. And just say, the fuck was the problem with it? Basically, my thoughts on it is, I think the biggest issue a lot of people seem to have is, a lot of people have issues with the whole Blake menagerie thing all the way back since Volume 4. I fucking loved it. I mean, it was probably always my least favorite thing in the show, but I still fucking loved it. My least favorite thing in the show is still like, I kind of like it. But again, I'm a fucking fanboy. I understand that. And I'll get into that shit, because that's a whole other fucking video in itself. I actually really want to make about just being a fanboy. The biggest complaint I seem to see is, in relation to the whole Adam thing, is my boy gets taken out like a punk bitch, number one, because he is one. Fucking fight me. And I say that with love. I fucking play Adam Taurus in a goddamn Abridged series. I love the dude, even though he's a fucking douchebag. Love him as a character, not as a person. Anyway, what the fuck am I talking about? You know, when he gets taken out by a bitch, not by a bitch. I don't know. She's sassy. Taken out like a bitch. And two is the fact that the White Fang, there's like 6 people with him. And I'll cover that part first. Because people, for whatever reason, seem to get the impression that the fall of Haven was going to be exactly like the fall of Beacon. Their immediate thoughts were, oh, it's going to be this big upscale war. Adam's going to bring an entire army, and they're going to even though it never, ever, ever gets said that that's what's going to happen. People tend to get this thing, and it's the same. I think I used this example in a previous episode, and that was I did it in the RWBY rant episode thing that I did for episode. I want to say 5. I want to say it was 5. Where I compared it to Pokemon. I compared it to the Pokemon fan base, because much like that group, a massive amount of people, for whatever reason, get really, really hyped about a thing which has never been confirmed, which has never been stated by anyone with merit, and then they go fucking ballistic when it isn't a thing. And I don't understand it. I understand getting hyped. I understand enjoying things. I understand being all excited for something. But don't get your hopes up for something that isn't fucking going to happen. That was never said that was going to happen. Never once, at any point, does Adam, Salem, fucking SiennaCon, does anyone say, oh yeah, we're bringing a fucking army? Because they're not. That was never the fucking point. The point was to bring a small, sneaky fucking team, blow shit up, steal the thing, and get the fuck out. It was a goddamn heist movie, is what it was supposed to be for them. It wasn't the Battle of Beacon. It wasn't the fucking Battle of Beacon. It was a fucking heist, is what it was. The only reason things didn't go quite the way they planned is because Cinder and Raven fucked around with everybody and was like, hey, what if we do this instead? And of course, the fact that Blake actually brought a fucking army. People went fucking goofy over the fact that he brought an infiltration team to a fucking infiltration mission. Why would you bring an army? You're going to draw attention. Why don't you just bring a couple people with bombs and blow shit up and be fine? Because he had no reason to assume there was gonna be any issue, especially since he's a cocky fucking douche bucket. Bucket? What the fuck? He's a cocky fucking douche bucket. There's no reason for him to have thought to bring any more. There was no like, oh yeah, they're bringing an army, so maybe we should bring an army. No, they were like, hey shit, ain't nobody guarding this fucking place. We even got a fucking in with the head douchebag in charge being Leo. There's no reason to give a shit. It's the same reason there's not a bunch of Grimm over there. They didn't bring an army of Grimm because they didn't fucking think they were gonna need it. And even if you count in like Cinder and Raven and stuff, Raven specifically was doing it on purpose so that she could fucking blindside Cinder. Obviously didn't fucking work, but that was the point. She was there to fuck with Cinder and get the relic and be free and happy and shit. Which I suppose is another thing I could talk about. It's a harder one for me to defend, the whole Raven wanting to get the relic thing. Admittedly, on her part, huge fucking mistake. We'll get to that in the next episode. Anyway, yeah, that seems to be one of the biggest complaints, is the infiltration team. It wasn't supposed to be an army, and for whatever reason, people got that impression, and then they stuck with it, and then went apeshit when it wasn't true. I will never understand how people's minds can work like that. I get getting hyped. I get being excited. I get wanting something. But don't take it out on the people who are putting something together because you're like, oh, I thought it was going to be this way. Well, I don't give a shit. You didn't come up with it. You weren't at the fucking meetings, apparently. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just let the show do what it's going to do. And if you don't get what you get, or you want to get, that's fine. Get the fuck over it. And I say that, which I understand that some people still have the, the mindset of, well, they could have done something else with it. And that's totally fine. They could have. They didn't, though. And it's their story, so that's cool. That's good that they want to make their story how they want to make it. In this case, a way that totally makes sense, and to anyone who says it doesn't, the fuck are you talking about? I'm retarded, and I know that makes sense. Maybe it's because I'm like, I got a whole Rain Man thing going. Anyway, I'm sorry, Charlie Babbitt. Wait, was it I haven't seen that show in a long time. Really like that movie, though. Anyway, point is, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. So when Blake shows up with an army, and they get the shit kicked out of them, I'm not surprised. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. As for Adam, again, I'd like to point this out, that I really like Adam as a character. I think he has a fuck ton of potential, and I think the way he's been used in the show so far makes sense. I like it, and I like what they can. Like I said, he's got a lot of potential. And this is something again, it falls into that. I have hope for this character, but that doesn't mean I'm going to place my imaginary shit on top of that and then be pissed if it doesn't happen. A lot of people also, again, seem to have the impression this was going to be the big final battle with Adam, that this was going to be the end of this whole arc in this character. Why would you think that? It was never played out like that. It was played out like, hey, we got to stop this asshole from doing this thing. Cool. That's what they fucking do. I don't understand why people get that. I understand how people could even get such an impression. I'll give you that. But again, it was never set in stone and concrete. And even if it fucking was, things change. Like, for another example, in the show, you remember when Yang and Mercury were going to go into the fight in the ring and she was going to kick his ass and win? Yeah, that was cool. Then things changed and they fucked with her, and then that didn't happen. She won at a real big fucking cost. Back in Volume 3. Things change. They don't always go exactly the way you even plan for them to. I mean, to make it really fucking dark and depressing in the real world, I can guarantee you Monty wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna die in between Volume 2 and 3. Here's all the shit to be ready for it. No, he fucking wasn't there one day. It's that kind of thing. I don't understand how people can get some of the impressions that they get and then go apeshit about it. I don't get it. Maybe I'm blowing out of proportion. I probably am. I'm probably like, everyone thought it was great. But I just, people love to bitch. And I'm sorry, that's gonna be what most of my shit on RWBY apparently is always gonna be, is me bitching about people bitching. And I don't want to be that guy. And if I am that guy, I'm so sorry. It's just like, I've said this before, and it's definitely gonna come into play in that fanboy video I talked about wanting to make, is I was raised, and throughout my entire young life, I need to get a drink because I'm so fucking dehydrated. I'm sorry. Forgive me for my transgressions. Is that the right word? We're gonna fucking hope it is. For the first 17 fucking years of my life, I was built as a judgmental douchebag. I was exactly like everyone I was born and raised on hatedom. Not by my family or anything, but just that's how I went along with things. And I fucking despised every bit of myself that used to be that way. And I think that's why it bothers me so much when people can't just sit and fucking enjoy something. So, yeah, I'm salty, and I'm a little bitch, and I'm a whiner, and kind of a douchebag. But it's just because I want people to have a good time. And for some reason, some people just can't fucking do that. And I get it. Some people have legitimate gripes. There are legitimate things to complain about in Volume 5. Pacing being one of them that even I am like, RT, why would you do it that way? It's just, that doesn't make sense to me. Especially like when I think of like episode 8, 9, 10. There's a lot of things to love about those episodes, but it's just put together so fucking weirdly, and I'm like, oh, I really wish you guys didn't do it that way, and I love you, but just, I think that was definitely a serious mistake. It's kind of a similar way with Volume 4. I had issues with how quickly Yang got wrapped up. I even have that too. It doesn't bother me nearly as much as it did anyone else, but I will admit, I wish my girl got more screen time in dealing with her problems. In the end, we have her back now. She's still kind of dealing with stuff here and there, and I like it, and that's cool. But I'm off topic again. Back to Adam. I need to get back through this. This is going to be a long-ass video. I do apologize for all 0 of you who will watch it. Adam. The thing about Adam, him getting taken out like just a total bitch. I can see why people have an issue. The entire time we've known Adam up until this point, he's a badass. He fucking kicks all the ass in the black trailer, and he beats the ever-loving shit out of Yang and Blake in Volume 3. So when that's your fucking understanding of those characters, or that character, it can be understandable why when they get knocked the fuck out by a teleporty cat girl in one hit, you might go, boy. But I think a lot of people, they either just miss it on accident, or they purposefully blind themselves to it. And again, someone can always correct me if you honestly feel that I'm wrong about any of this stuff. I'll try and debate you as civilly as I can. I'm also a fucking douchebag, like I said before. I'm also a really shy, pathetic baby boy. So I'll also be like, well, maybe you are right. But it's one of those things where just I do feel that people seem to kind of just ignore certain parts of it. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure I'm ignoring stuff as well. But the whole point of that scene was to illustrate Blake's shift in priority. It was to illustrate that Blake doesn't fucking have time for this little douchebag who owned her life for the past, what? Who knows how many years those two were together, both in a relationship, just as friends, as a mentor, as whatever. Who knows how long that grubby little fuck has had his claws in her. That sounded worse than I meant it. But who knows? I don't know what that creepy motherfucker was into. Probably some silly shit. Can make a doggy style joke, but that'd probably be racist. Anyway. Sorry. Anyway, the whole point was to show off her complete change in priority, which makes sense. She's grown. And the biggest thing, too, is a lot of people seem to complain in regards to Blake that she never grows. That was a big thing, is how she, like, lapsed in a lot of her character development. And a lot of people see that as, oh, you're just going back on all this character development. It's just a waste of time. No. It's strengthening her character development, by making her reconsider all the stuff that she went through. And it happened early. It gets discussed by Weiss, while talking to Yang earlier in the season, where she goes on to explain, like, yeah, she finally opened up to people. She did grow. She got her character development, and then the world fucked her. And then it proved her right, and she had every reason in the world to go, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was right to feel the way I did so many years ago. Maybe I shouldn't have ever tried. So she had to pull herself back out of that, because anyone would have. At least most anyone, maybe like RWBY, because she's the kind of character that she is. And that's another fucking video I want to make. Let's just say there's a lot of fucking videos I want to make, and all of them are just me bitching about people who complain about RWBY. Anyway, it's one of those things where, like, it makes perfect sense that she would experience that kind of regression in her character, and that in itself is character growth. I don't understand why people can't grasp that even if it goes backwards, that is growth. It's just growth in a negative way, which she can then overcome and strengthen her resolve so much more than it was before. She is so much stronger now than she was the first time she started coming out of her shell, because this time she has the full-on drive. Back then it was like, oh yeah, maybe we're feeling kind of good. Here it's like, no, we have to get past this. We have to work together. We have to have this. She's so much more convicted. She has so much more conviction now than she did before, because she had to go through that extra fucking hurdle. So when she finally encounters Adam as like, nah, I didn't come here for you. I came here for Haven. Fuck you, you uppity little bitch. I'm done with your punk ass. It makes it so much more important to her. And this is another one of those things. It's another complaint that's going to be heard of in the next episode when it comes to the RWBY, the really fun little RWBY head knock thing that she does to Mercury. People go, well, that was pointless. The fuck are you talking about? It's character growth. You fucking bastard. Like, what do you fucking hate fun? What is wrong? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm freaking the fuck out again. Point is, this is just the rant-isode. So this is why I think I hit the wall as bad as I did this time, is because I just knew I wasn't going to stop talking about all this shit that pissed me off. And I know that's going to bother people, because I'm I want so desperately to be a positive person. It's just, I see so much negativity, especially about something that I legitimately love. RWBY is my favorite fucking show. I love it so fucking much. So that when people go fucking apeshit on it, it makes me lose my fucking mind. I'm like, why do you hate things that I love? I'm a firm believer of, you can dislike things, obviously, and you can like anything you want, unless it's like horrific, like fucking children, but you can love anything you want. I have no problem with people loving the things they love. You can love Justin Bieber for all I care. I think he's still a cunt, but you do you, boo-boo. Anyway, but the problem I have is when people purposefully go out of the way to destroy things that other people do like. Whenever, even like cheeky stuff. Like I keep going off track, and I'm sorry. This is a weird fucking video. I'm sorry. If you're sticking with it, you're a goddamn champion. But like, for example, And I say this with the what the fuck am I trying to say? With the utmost of absolute love to the person I'm talking about, because I really do enjoy their content. If you know anything about me, obviously I like Pokemon. That's been discussed before. I like PokeTubers. There's a fella out there named King Nappy. Great dude. Awesome. Positive motherfucker. Really enjoyable to listen to. Except for the fact that he fucking hates Lily from Pokemon Sun and Moon. The fuck is wrong with you, Nappy? Irritable, beautiful, bald bastard. But it's one of those things where like go so far as like as one of those people. I remember like he there was a series of videos. I can't remember what it was. I think it was the Penta Op for was it Insurgents? I can't fucking remember. Light Plat. I don't remember. It was one of those. And there was this whole bit for a long time where they were just railing on Nexus for fucking loving My Hero Academia, and it was all jokes about My Hero Academia the whole time. And don't get me wrong, it's funny, but there's just a little part of me that's like, if I know that if that was like RWBY or something, I would just be going fucking apeshit, because I can't stand that, even though it's meant purely in jest, and I'm pretty sure they watched the fuck out of that show and enjoyed it. But like, it's one of those things where even though it's purely a joke, it still bugs the fuck out of me. I look back to RWBY and getting off of shit that has nothing to do with this. I mentioned Thomas Vaccaro earlier, someone who I really have grown to enjoy their content very much recently, and I say this with the utmost love. Like, I still have not watched his RWBY rant video, even though it's it's mostly just for fun. Roast, I should say, RWBY roast, not RWBY rant. It feels like it would bother me. So I haven't watched it yet, even though they, as I mentioned before, recently made a video going on to discussing critique and shit like that, and which I did watch, and I 100% agree with. I will not agree with everything that they say about the show, just because I am a complete and utter fucking fanboy. But I still love the content they make. I still respect their opinions. I don't think they're an unbelievable douchebag about it. And as long as you can be not those things, or be those things, what am I trying to say? Point is, as long as you're not a douchebag about it, I'm totally okay with your opinions. I might not agree with you 100%, but I'm like, just an example, wasn't at all a fan of Grim Eclipse, from what I understand, or just couldn't really get behind it. That being said, I played it and I fucking loved it. It had issues, well, lots of them, but I could never bring myself to be like, I hate it. It was really bad. He was a little more towards that direction, and I can 100% respect that, and I can get it, and I can understand. I definitely understand why people had a lot of problems with that game, but I still really liked it. So I won't always agree with everyone, but I do respect everyone's opinion, as long as you're not a douchebag about it. If you haven't seen most of the fucking videos about critique and shit in the RWBY stuff, especially Tom's video, hope that. Is he okay with the shortening of the name? I don't know. Especially their video on the subject, says things perfectly. Even if I don't agree on every single little detail, says it damn near perfectly. Check that video out. This is way better at saying shit than I am. Anyway, back to Adam. I'm so fucking sorry. Anyway, people had issues with how quickly he got taken out. Because we've known him to be this badass. The biggest thing for me with Adam is that scene needed to happen to take him down a peg, to show growth for Blake, to do all this stuff, and it didn't even really take him down a peg. It showed him to be hot-headed, which we already fucking knew. It showed him to be reckless, which we already fucking knew, and it definitely showed a little bit different a side of him, as instead of being this immortal badass, he's a bit more of a glass cannon. He can dish out a metric ass ton of damage, but he can't take a hit for shit, which is why he doesn't let himself take a hit, except for when the one thing that really matters to him, the one thing is like, the only thing that matters to me anymore is taking away everything you love. Like, that was his whole thing. His entire life became Blake, because her entire life was him. So when he had all that power over her. He had everything. But as soon as she took that away from him, he lost everything. He became a fucking bitch. And that's important because it shows the kind of person that he is. It shows that everything that he has is dependent on how much power he holds over everyone else. And when you take that away from him, he has nothing. He probably hits like a motherfucker, but he doesn't have everything, I guess is the best way to say it. Oh, how good is it to drink non-poisoned water? It's great. Anyway. Yeah, my flooding's finally gone. Yay! Though I realized the last time I made one of these videos was long before my house ever flooded. Anyway, point is, so I think it was handled perfectly. The only complaint I will have, which I think it's one of those things where, like, it's silly, but I can totally get past it because I'm not fucking obsessive over this kind of shit, is when she does do her clone, she does teleport right into the way of his sword. So I will understand that. And I understand there's a couple people in particular who are like, the fuck? Rooster Teeth. Ruby, you've been ruined. Like, no, it hasn't. It was a fucking silly little goof. It was fine. Don't worry about it. It's a fucking cartoon. Get over yourself. But I will admit, yeah, it's a silly thing. It probably should have, she probably should have went around the other side. Anyway, point is he gets taken out with a punk bitch hit. But that's fine, because he wasn't thinking straight. Which makes sense, because he's a fucking raving douchebag, and the only thing that mattered to him in that moment was hurting Blake. It wasn't about dodging a hit. It wasn't about being cautious. It was about, you fucking bitch. How dare you be you, kind of thing. That was what mattered to him in that moment. So that was all he thought about. He was bullheaded. Get it? Isn't that funny how that works out? So the only thing he saw was red. And in the end, it cost him. And it didn't even knock him out. It knocked him on his ass, and then he immediately got back up again. So I don't understand the issue with this scene. Again, maybe someone can explain it to me, but I can't for the life of me fucking understand it. I do not get it. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the other big thing for this episode, and that is, of course, the Cinder Raven fight. What can I say about the fight other than I fucking loved it? It was so good. It was such a... After, and I can't even say it was a lackluster fighting volume. I don't understand why people are like, oh, there was no fights in this. What the fuck are you talking about? There was the Lancer fight. There was, the Bandit fight. There was all the little fighting that took place during, the shit am I trying to say? During the attempt at the Fall of Haven. There was, the fight between Ilya and, Blake. There was, again, a little bit more fighting in between, Blake and, like, who's his Medic, Batboy, and shit like that. There's just little bits of fuck you a tree throughout, and I don't understand. Did you guys watch the other fucking volumes? There was, like, no less fighting in those than there was in this. Did you see fucking volume 1? I'm pretty sure there was one fight in the first episode. There was a fucking fight in episode 8. There's a little fight scattered throughout in the Emerald Forest. There was the fight with the big Ursa and John, or the Ursa Major, I should say. And then there was the fucking final fight with Penny and Sun and shit. Pretty much the same exact amount of fucking fighting as that was in fucking this volume. And maybe let's look at volume 2. Volume 2 had the food fight. Volume 2 also had they had the extracurricular fight. They had the fight against the mecha. They had a fight against they had little fights here and there for the Mountain Glen shit, and then there was no breaks, and then there was the final episode. Probably there's a bit more in that, don't get me wrong, and I will say that Volume 5 is on the lesser side of fights, but it is not in any way in worse put together fights. It's not in any way, shape, like the lowest in fight count. I don't understand why people have that fucking perception of it. Did you guys watch the fucking other volumes? If you want to compare it to Volume 3, fine. There's a fight in every episode except for episode 8. That's a fucking example, but that's also the absolute most fights we've ever had, so it's a shit example. There's Volume 4, which had what? They had the fucking, there was the Geist fight, there was, there was the Geist, there was the Geist fight, there was the Nuclevi fight, there was the fight on the ship, and there were the 2 Tyrion fights. That's like 5 fights. It's, again, the same amount is what was in fucking Volume 5. I don't understand it. If you want to have discussion about the choreography, yes, it took a little bit of a hit after Monty left. Was it ass? No, and I will say the worst fight we have ever had so far, I think in the show, which makes me feel sad to say, is probably the fight on the ship against the dragon, or the sea dragon. But we've been growing ever since. We have not been getting worse. I don't know why people seem to be getting that impression. We haven't. The only complaint in regards to fights this volume that I personally have is, and in the last episode, when RWBY says, checkmate, and Blake, Yang, and her go off to fight, that is the one fight that I think really should have been in there that wasn't. It made me legitimately sad. I will say that. Because it feels very disjointed when you come back to them and they've fought and won. You're like, how the fuck did you guys win? You guys were getting the shit kicked out of you. But then they come back and they just won. They really absolutely should have had a fight there. And I don't just say that because it was the finale. I just say because the way it was put together, it absolutely should have had a fight. Am I sad? Yeah. Did it ruin the fucking show? No. Get the fuck over yourself. Other than that, all the other fights were fine. Again, would have been nice to see more of them. Yeah, but we didn't. Okay. We didn't need to. Again, I would argue we really should have seen that one in particular. Other than that, though, it was fine. There's no... I don't understand the complaints in regards to fighting this volume. I think it's total fucking bullshit. I will say there is one thing, is there's a couple scenes in particular where I will 100% give the whole Yang and Mercury and Emerald just kind of disappear off the face of the fucking planet. I'll give you that. That doesn't make any real sense. It should have had something else in there to explain why they weren't doing anything, why they weren't there, like if they got knocked into another room or something. I think that was an example I got shown, and like, yes, I'll 100% give you that one as well. But on the whole, this volume is no worse than any other volume. Not even remotely close. And I will say this to anyone who had a complaint because there was no big fight in the final episode, fuck you. Just get over yourself. You didn't need it. I do find it interesting that there was no fight in the first episode, nor in the last episode, which I thought was a cool thing. But I will even go as far as to say, is like I said earlier, there was a fight. It just, not a punch was thrown. It was all verbal, and I think that was a massive, moment. It was incredibly important that they did it that way, because if it was just a bitch slap fight between Yang and Raven, that would have been shit. I'm sorry, it would have been bad. You didn't need it. It wouldn't have added anything except for, oh, well, okay, it's just another fight. But here, there was an incredible emotional moment, and it showed so much growth between both of those characters. Again, I'm not on that episode yet. No, we're on episode 13. And again, the Raven Cinder fight, which was amazing. And that was the big final fight. That was the fight to end all the fucking fights in this goddamn arc. So it's one of those things where it was good. That's what I'm trying to say. Very few people seem to have any complaints around that. So there's no point in really addressing it other than I really liked it. As for the thing to address, is something I've wanted to address literally since it happened, and for whatever reason, oh god, I'm so sorry. I'm so late to the party, my opinion is pointless, but there's something I think that I can add to this discussion, because I've never seen anyone else address it. And it's probably because they're like, it's whatever you're saying is useless. But I do think it's a legitimate discussion point in regards to Cinder. Because obviously, if you've seen the episode, which you probably should have if you're watching this, in the fight with Raven and Cinder, by the end of it, Cinder gets taken out. She gets blasted off a fucking cliff, frozen, and just left to fall. And obviously that is funny because her name. With a surname so appropriate, she probably picked it herself. I love Hannah. I almost called her Hannah. It's fucking Anna Hullum. What's wrong with me? Anyway, we see her do that, and it obviously raises the biggest question of, okay, is she dead? Is Cinder gone? And there's a lot of discussion as to, both ways. Because, obviously it comes down to, while she does get frozen by Raven, she doesn't hit the bottom. Not that we ever hear. We don't ever hear her shatter into a million pieces. We don't ever see it. We don't see any of that. We have no idea what happens. The only thing we know is that Cinder gets frozen and she falls. And obviously there's a lot of different things you could say for both things. Number one, that's a pretty fucking difficult thing to escape. That being said, totally nowhere near impossible, especially not for someone like Cinder. I'd like to remind you, she was frozen, she can fly, and her entire motif is fire. If the girl whose entire motif is not fire can break out of ice, why the fuck couldn't the person whose motif is all of fire not break out of the ice? So I think it's entirely possible that she dies. She could get really fucked up, but I don't think she's gonna die. And I think the biggest reason of all is, again, it's something I don't think anyone's ever covered, but I do honestly believe it's the case. And 100% it comes down to, I have been around watching Rooster Teeth since they first started, which means I was introduced to Red vs. Blue. And I want to keep it as spoiler-free as I possibly can for anyone who hasn't seen it. But let's just say, throughout the course of the show, different villains pop up. One of the fan favorites throughout the series has himself a bit of a tumble off of a cliff, forcefully. And for the next 5 years of RT's life, over and 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 over again, people was like, oh, he's not really dead, is he? She's not really dead, is he? They're not really gone, are they? What the fuck? Who? What? It can't happen. No, it's totally still alive, right? No, it can totally happen. And the reason why I think there is no way on Earth that that Cinder would go like that and them just be like, oh yeah, no, she's dead, is because I can't imagine Miles would ever put himself through that fucking shit again. The dude had to deal with the character falling into the off the cliff and trying to tell people for 5 years that the character was dead, and no one would listen to him. Over and over and over. Oh, he's dead. Coming back. Oh my god, is that him? Is it... Off of a cliff. They're dead. Just accept that. But no one did. Or at least the vast, vast, vast majority of people didn't. That's probably inaccurate. A decent amount of people didn't. And I know it drove Miles insane because he bitched about it all the time. So when he took over writing, eventually in volume 13, puts that shit out on Front Street. No, this character is dead. They died this way. They are gone. They are super fucking gone. Because they were tired of listening to that shit. Not only that, but literally later on that season, a character faces a similar fate. And when they do, like 3 seconds afterward, they prove that that character's dead. Undeniably, there's no way on Earth that character could not have lived because this thing that can only happen if they're not alive happens. So I honestly, truly believe that Miles would not make the mistake of doing that again unless she is still alive. Unless he's willing to accept that people are going to do that. And maybe that's a whole other thing. Again, I could entirely be wrong. It could have been a mistake. It could have been, well, we know what it's going to be like, but that's fine. We'll just have to deal with it. It could be one of those two things. It could be that was what the freeze was for. That was supposed to be the definitive nail in the coffin for Cinder. But I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. And again, Miles could literally come out tomorrow and be like, nope, just like last time, you're part of the problem. You're being a frustration, and you're just a part of that same group. But I honestly feel Miles specifically would not make that mistake again. Dude's smarter than I am by a million miles. Funny, because his name is... I didn't do that on purpose. Anyway, point is... I honestly do not believe he would go so far as to make that decision again. Don't get me wrong. I could be wrong. Obviously, I could be wrong. Miles, if I'm wrong, maybe don't tell me because of spoilers, but just in case, you can totally tell me if I'm wrong. It just, to me, I don't think he would go... I don't think he would put himself through that again. I don't think Miles or Carrie would want to put themselves through that again. So that is honestly my biggest reason, and it's a behind the scenes reason. It's just I don't think they would do that again. Again, I can be wrong. I'm not a genius. That's my honest belief. Until I get proven otherwise, I think that just makes the most amount of sense. As for the discussion of Cinder's potential death, it's one of those things where, personally for me, I don't want her to be dead because there's so much more they could do with her that I would really like to see. That being said, I've been in that position before, and her name was Pyrrha fucking Nikos. If they decide to go that way, it's fine. It's totally fine that they decide to kill her off. I'm gonna be a little sad, because there's definitely more things I'd love to see with Cinder. There's very few things in particular I feel definitely should be done with Cinder. But if they don't, that is fine. I completely understand. It makes sense for her to die here. She got the shit kicked out of her. Not crazy to believe she doesn't come out of it alive. Even if she has a potential story to continue, just because you have a potential story doesn't mean you have a story. Not if your ass is toast, which hers totally could be. I would love to see Cinder continue to grow. If you've been around in the last two things of the review cap, you'll know that Tyrion immediately became my new favorite villain as soon as he showed up. I fucking love him. Josh Greeley does an amazing job at bringing that character to life. And I need to sneeze, but I haven't yet. It's a problem. Is it going? Is it coming? Is it sexy? Okay, apparently it's gone. Josh immediately stole my fucking heart with Tyrion. I immediately fell in love with the fact that he was a faunus. He's such a fun character, and I'm so sad we didn't get to actually see him this volume. So I sincerely hope we get to see more of him in the next one. But it's like, he was my absolute favorite until this season showed up and Cinder became my favorite, which is saying something because while I like Cinder, I wouldn't invite her to no parties or nothing, but like, I like her as a character just like Adam. I love him as a character, just think they're a garbage bag of a human. Or faunus. We don't discriminate here. I understand. What am I talking about? No, she really did become my favorite this volume. I loved the confidence she had. I love that, again, she grew. Again, that character development. She got knocked the fuck out in the last volume. After her overcockiness, and then she got it all back, and it happened again. That's one of the reasons I like potentially what they could do with her if she's still alive. Is she got built all the way up, she got knocked the fuck down, she got built back up again, and then got knocked the fuck down again. And I want to see what that does to her. I want to see how that affects her. I want to see her grow. I want to see. And I know a lot of people have this perspective is, for me, What my personal want is, I want RWBY and the gang, or whoever is still alive, hopefully everyone, who knows, our hearts could be broken, to kick Salem's ass, and I want Cinder to be the final boss. Even if she's not the big bad, I want her to be the final boss. I want to see Jean and I want to see RWBY go against her, and I want to see them finish the fucking fight against this bitch who caused them so much pain. That's what I really want to see, and I want to see her get beat to fucking back. I want to keep seeing that. I want to see more of how she is willing to turn herself into a monster to get this power. I want to see why she believes this power is she deserves it. I want to see why she's so obsessed with it. I want to see why she believes she is the biggest, baddest bitch in the world. I want to see all these things, and I don't know if I'm gonna, but I sincerely hope I do, because I really have grown to love her. Again, as a character, not as a person. She's kind of a bitch. Also, Nigiri, you do a good voice, girl. She's grown so much as a voice actress in recent times, and I fucking love it. She did so good in this volume. Also, do you see the animation? I talked about it last time. Did you see the animation when she was in the fucking elevator? Fucking tasty. But you know, so if they decide to go the route where she's gone, it's gonna make me really, really, really sad. But I understand it. It's not the first time we've lost a character like that. And I think it's perfectly fine to lose a character like that. Do I hope it happens? No, not at all. But I'm totally okay if it does have to happen. I'll be sad, but, you know, there's always time for more. Also, maybe Neo gets the fucking spotlight for once. Come back, my ice cream baby! I'm sorry. Sincerely hope she comes back soon. I fucking love that character so much. It's amazing how a character who's never said a single fucking word has wormed her way into my goddamn heart. Have you seen her in Chibi? She's the greatest fucking thing. Fight me! Anyway, I guess in the end, that's all kind of my biggest thoughts on Cinder. I understand if she doesn't come back. I hope she does. And I don't think she's gone. Just because of all that potential, which again, doesn't mean shit. But because of all that potential, because of what I personally want to see is the big showdown by the end of it. Because for me, I don't know, for whatever reason, Cinder always just felt like she has such a personal connection to RWBY, to Jean, to all of the characters. She's the one with all of the cards, really. Salem's a big bad bitch, but she's not the one who everyone was emotionally invested in, you know? She's not the one that really hurt everyone. She's a douche, but she's not the thorn in RWBY's side. It's Cinder. So I do sincerely hope she's not gone, and I want to see that by the end of the show. Again, it might not happen, but that's my personal hope. So you know, I guess that's all I have to say about Cinder. Again, this is something that I should have said months ago. I wanted to say months ago, but just couldn't bring myself to do it. Oh, fuck me. Anyway, and I think that's kind of where we're going to end this episode. In the discussion of this episode, I'm going to keep going. I might release this in 2 parts. I don't know. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to release the whole fucking thing as just a really long supercut episode. So hopefully you're strapping the fuck in. Admittedly, I have much less to talk about in the next episode because most of it's just going, I really like this, I really like that, I really thought this was good. Anyway, what is there to talk about in the next episode? I already gave you guys my thoughts on the fighting. Again, it's one of the only real complaints I have about this volume, especially in relation to the fighting, is that fight in particular should have been in the show. And again, I understand it because I know Miles and I think it was Miles and Carrie had an interview quite a while back, and where they kind of discussed is like we didn't realize it was that important to people, which it's a shame, and I can see how that would bother some people, but I think it's just they can learn from it, and that's the biggest thing for RWBY for me. And I think that's the reason why I have such a big problem with people who attack it as much as they do. And I don't mean people who give just valid criticisms, who's not being a douchebag about it. And even if you are having And like, I'll admit, I even have problems with people who have valid criticisms, just because, again, I'm a fanboy, and I admit that, and it's a fault. I'm a fanboy to a fault. But I think it's the biggest reason why RWBY matters to me. Honestly, it's the reason why it's my favorite show, is because to me, it was never a great show. It was never a perfect show. It was never supposed to be, you know, this perfectly crafted story. It's not supposed to be Game of Thrones or fucking Citizen Kane. That was never the point. At least it never seemed that way to me. From the very beginning, it was a guy who had a dream one time and was like, dude, colors. And everyone was like, dude, colors. And then they were just gonna have fun and make a show out of it. It's exactly like Red versus Blue. It's a bunch of silly, goofy fucks in Texas who are like, what if we did this cool thing over here? And then they did a kind of cool thing, and then it fucking exploded, and people loved it. And the same exact thing happened with RWBY, but just with a different audience. And it's the same fucking thing. It was never supposed to be, like I said, it was never supposed to be like Citizen Kane or some shit. It was a passion project. It was something that they started off small and have continued to grow. That's why RWBY matters to me. It's because it was something made by a bunch of people I really, really respect and love and care about, who I've never fucking met. But it was made by these people, not because they were trying to get rich or to, you know, win a fucking Emmy or an Oscar or some shit. I don't know what any of those fucking words really mean. They were doing it because they wanted to have fun, and they wanted to grow, and that's exactly what they've done through all of these years. It's why, despite Volumes 1 and 2 having a lot of issues due to their budget and all that shit, it's that growth over time that matters so much to me. And it's one of those things where it turns so many people off of the show, because it starts so amateur. But then I look at it now, and it still has issues, but it continues to grow every single time. And that's why I love RWBY so much, is because RWBY is a living thing to someone like me. It's not just a show. It's something. I mean, it's Monty's baby. It's Miles and Carrie's baby. It's this thing that they made, and they're constantly nurturing and trying to get it to grow and to be something better. And they're always gonna make mistakes, just like, again, to kind of go back to that baby thing, it's like a parent. You're gonna make mistakes. But the thing is, you just have to learn from them and keep moving on. And you're not always gonna learn from them perfectly. You're still gonna continue to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We're all fucking children, despite having the title of adult. Have you seen me? We're gonna goof. We're gonna mess up. We're gonna make mistakes. But that's part of the thing that I love so much about RWBY, is because they're willing to understand that they will make those mistakes, and they will try to grow from those mistakes, and they won't nail it every time, but they're not supposed to. I don't think it would have quite the charm that it does. It wouldn't matter to me as nearly. I don't know if it would matter. I probably would, because I'd still be like, fucking A, yeah. But, I think it would even lose a bit of its charm if it was just this perfect thing. Because it never felt like it was supposed to be that. It was never what they were trying to do. They try to make it as good as they can, but it wasn't designed to be perfect. It was a passion project. It was something that they made because they loved to make things. They loved to want to make this thing. And that, for me, is why I think I love the show as much as I do, and why it bothers me when I see people shit on it. And it makes me really sad. And it's why I'm as big a fanboy as I am, and it's why I am as forgiving as I am for things. I don't know why I went into this. Maybe I'm not going to make those later videos, because I'm going to end up saying it all here. But, I don't know, it's just one of those things where I think that's why I look at it so much in the way that I do. And why, even through its mistakes, I will continue to love it so much. And yes, there will be things that I really wish weren't the way they were. I really wish there was more to Yang's story in the last volume. I really wish we could have seen more of Mistral. That was such an amazing looking place, and we never got to see more than a couple buildings out of it. And that makes me so sad. But I understand. We didn't get to see the checkmate fight. But I understand why we didn't. It makes me sad, but I get it. It wasn't their priority at the time, and people will make that mistake. And hopefully they'll learn from it. But I don't know. It's just the way I look at it. Anyway, we should go into the actual episode again. Other things to talk about. There's the other little bit with Adam in the beginning. Personal thoughts on it. I have the same exact opinion as I did in the last one. It's, again, just showing the growth of all these characters and showing Adam for who he really is. And people had a problem with, like, oh, he just booked it off and ran so easily. They immediately explained why they do that and why they leave him there. It's because the fucker was immediately going to stab them in the back as soon as they got into the bushes. It would have been retarded for them to have followed him in there. They would have died immediately. There's nothing wrong with the way they handled it. It's abrupt and it's quick, but it makes perfect sense if you're willing to sit there for 4.5 seconds and think about it. And wait for 4.5 seconds for them to literally explain it to you. Liquid. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on that. Again, you know my opinion on the fight thing. Let's go on to, it's out of order, but let's go on to Leo. I think most people were okay with how Leo was handled. In the end, he got what he deserved. Poor fucker. I want to give this a huge shout out again to, I think it's Damon Mills. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure after doing the original review cat that I did for this volume, that was my man's name. Shout out to you, my dude. You were a great addition to the cast. Addition to the cast for the short time that you were in it. And you brought Leo to life as just a pathetic coward, but as you did good. And I'm sad to see you go as early as you do. But it was good to have you around. Maybe we can get you around a flashback or something again. Who knows? As for that, I really liked the scene. I thought it was really dark. It was fucked up, and I kind of really loved it. I loved Salem's line of just coward when he finally got it. It was perfectly set up, and I really loved that scene. A scene again, still out of order, but because I want to hit the biggest thing last. And that's Salem, the Salem illusion. I thought that was really well done. I know some people had complaints about it because some people didn't find it scary at all. To that, all I have to say is, okay, you didn't find it scary. Other people did. Okay, people are fucking different. You are wired differently than other people. I mean, it startled the ever-living shit out of me. I'm not even kind of kidding when I say I damn near pissed my pants. I was so not ready for it to happen, and the build-up was the biggest thing, is because it's when you see her, like, nightmarishly growing up and shit, and as soon as that scream comes from Emerald, it was so well done, and I loved every bit of it. I'll admit, the actual scream, it just kind of startled me, really, more than anything, and the elongated nightmare face that Salem had wasn't nearly as intimidating, especially not the jump towards the camera. That I didn't really care for. It didn't do anything for me. Everything else, though, I thought was really, really well done, and I thought it was a phenomenal way to show off Salem to all the characters. Not only that, but give a massive bit of growth to Emerald right there at the end, because not only a lot of people have gone in discussion of what could be going on for the future in relation to Emerald, Mercury, and all that shit. Obviously, with Cinder gone, in quotations, who knows what that means for Emerald? Who knows if she has any allegiance to Salem at this point? I mean, she literally, in a previous episode, says, I don't give a shit about Salem. Okay, she doesn't literally say that. I mean, by very definition, she does not say those exact words. But you can tell that she just doesn't care. You can also see that in this scene, Merc does care about Emerald at least a little bit. I don't know if it's just to save his own ass, but the fact that he's willing to kind of like, hey, hey, girl, we need to go. I mean, come on, we're together here, let's go. I thought it was really, really well done, and I'm very curious to see what it means for Emerald. I'm very curious to see if potentially Cinder is gone, what happens to her power. I can't wait to see what happens with just Emerald's semblance, because her semblance went from like a 1 to like a 74 in about 4 seconds. Probably damn near turned her into a vegetable or some shit. But I thought it was really interesting as soon as she realized what happened to Cinder, how much that affected her, and it was really interesting seeing a little bit more emotion from the bad guy side. I'm a sucker for bad guys who are emotional as shit, and Emerald fits that bar really well because of the whole Cinder thing. So I thought it was really well done. I loved all that. I thought it made perfect sense for that to be how the thing ends up ending. It was going to be really hard for any other way to get the villains out of there. So it made perfect sense to me. It doesn't bother me at all that they used that way to escape. I'm sure someone will find a way to bitch about it. I thought it was fine. I'm curious to see what Adam is going to be up to, because he obviously, after seeing them run away, ends up taking off. I don't know if he's taking off with them or if he's taking off in a different direction. I don't know. I know Ilya goes so far as to say, like, yeah, nobody's going to listen to that dumb shit anymore because he's just abandoning people. Don't know how accurate that is. But if she's going so far as to say it, it's entirely possible that, yeah, no, Adam is just on his own outside of Salem and the gang. Next up, Gira kind of goes and explains that they're putting together the new White Fang with him as leader once again, which I think is cool. It basically seemed to have been set up pretty hard in the last volume, and we actually see that kind of like, yeah, no, we're committing to it here and now. What else? I guess the only thing else really to talk about is the very end, the reunion of Team RWBY, and my favorite part, which is obviously the Yang and Raven discussion. And I suppose there's not really much for me to say other than it was kind of perfect. Again, I can't imagine if it had been a fight. I feel like that would have taken so much away from it. And I'm so glad they didn't do it that way. I'm so glad it was all about words. Not only does just the words that they're saying to each other say so much, all Yang's whole speech about "you are not strong," you may be powerful, but you are not strong, is one of the best lines in the show. Her just calling Raven out for everything that she is a coward, that she is just wrong in every fucking way. Again, there comes the discussion of why would Raven be so stupid as to think she could just take the relic and that would make her be better off. I guess I can kind of see it, because she's like, well, then I have a bargaining chip. Do you? That we've made it clear that is not necessarily even a good thing to have. Or if she just believed that the relic was going to give her enough power to potentially be able to hold Salem and her forces back, but obviously we don't know much about that. We know what the relic is, but we don't have any fucking clue what it does. We know it's the relic of knowledge, we know it's the lamp, we know we gotta get it to Atlas. So we don't know, I don't know 100% what her plan was with that, but it's fine, I don't really give a shit. I assume, again, she just somehow thought that was like, oh, that's gonna either be leverage or it's gonna be a weapon. I don't necessarily blame her for thinking that. But it's definitely to show that her daughter has grown so much as to, she doesn't have to fight her. She can do it with her words. She doesn't have to be a reckless fool and go get herself killed anymore. She doesn't... She knows, you know, what's at stake. She knows that in the end, someone has to stand up to Salem. Even if you don't want to, she has to. And that she is going to, even if she doesn't want to. That's another one of my favorite lines, is just, you know, what is it? I don't want to. Yeah, no, that's what she says. I don't want to, but I'm going to. And then of course there's the shoulder nudge, and then Raven, crying, and eventually, you know, flying away to go see Ty, like we see at the post-credit scene, which I do wish we had more of a post-credit scene, but I think it gave us what we needed. It gave us a little bit of information as to where Raven and Ty are going to be. presumably that they're going to be a little bit important, and presumably going to have a bit of talking to do in the next volume, which I am totally for, because I like seeing Ty. I love me some Bernie motherfucking Burns. Some Emmy-nominated and Emmy-failed Bernie Burns. Anyway, so yeah, I think it was really well done, and I think it honestly might be, maybe it's not my favorite fight, but it's definitely one of the best, and I think it's the moment that takes an episode which was okay and makes it one of the absolute best in the show. A lot of people bitched about how there was like no fight in the last episode, and I can't understand why. RWBY's made and it's been clear that they're making a what the fuck am I trying to say? A conscious effort to not rely exclusively on fighting. It was sold to us on fight. Yes, fights are awesome, but it's about the characters in the end. It's about RWBY and Yang and Blake and Weiss and Juniper and all these people doing what they have to do. And not everything is going to be a fight. It's one of the things I kind of didn't care for in Volume 3. In a damn near perfect fucking volume. For me, it was just a whole lot of fighting, and a lot of it wasn't necessary. I mean, it made sense for the situation. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying I would have preferred different things, because I am all about character and talking, and I love that kind of thing, and I've said that before. So when people actively are like, no, we don't need that, we need people punching each other, I'm like, bitch, go watch a fucking DC movie. Like, I get it, but come on. Come on. I'm being such an asshole in this fucking video. I'm so sorry. The amount of times I've called someone a bitch for having a dissenting opinion is absurd. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be so fucking mean. I've been stewing on it for so long, just watching people moan and complain and tear apart something that I really, really love, and I'm tired of it. I don't want to see it anymore. It hurts my enjoyment of something that's of my favorite show of all time, because some people just can't not hate, and not just do that, but go so far as to do horrible shit to the people who make the show. Again, go watch some of those other videos talking about the just hate fuel that just hateful vomit some people throw at like Miles and Carrie and people who are working on the show, and the shit that they will do, just like the horrific shit they'll say, using Monty as fuel and shit. Like, I can't get behind that, and it's why I'm so mad. And I know I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to be that guy. Again, I want to be as positive and as an individual as possible, and I know I'm not being that in this video. I hope you guys forgive me. It makes me so upset, and I know I just need to just block it out. I know that's what I need to do, but it gets really hard, especially when I want to have discussions, and I care for what people do when people do have legitimate issues, and I've admitted to many of them in this episode. But hate for the sake of hate is so toxic and unenjoyable. I can't understand why people enjoy it, and it bothers me so much. And I'm so sorry to everyone who I've potentially been a douchebag to in this video. I'm so sorry. Again, if you disagree with me, that's okay. Just don't be mean about it, and we can talk about it, and that's fine. And you're probably right. But just, I don't know. It's why I didn't want to make these videos. I'm so sorry. So anyway, I'll finish this up here. After the Yang Raven discussion, we get to see the Relic of Knowledge. Again, it's a lamp. We see the world it's in, which is really, really cool. We see it's like in a little pocket dimension. I think it was I really like the the way it was put together. I think the environmental designs over the years is skyrocketed in RWBY. Just that the choices they've made in regards to that have been awesome. It's again, it's why I'm sad that we didn't get to see more of Mistral. And I do sincerely hope we spend more time in Atlas and Vacuo when we inevitably get to those two places. We get to see that, and obviously that all gets taken care of, and then she goes back up, and then all the Salem shit happens. But it's at that point Team RWBY gets back together again, and for the first time in 2 fucking volumes, everyone's back together, and they share the group hug, and we get a fucking song, and Sun does the cutest fucking thing that's ever. Like, I'd fuck that man tonight. If I'm sorry. Also, my back hurts so bad right now. Yeah, no, the tail thing is amazing. But, you know, I really liked how it was all put together in the end, and I will admit it does end kind of very abruptly, but in the end I think it was put together fine and well, and again, it's one of my favorite volume endings. I think it's probably my favorite behind, yeah, it's probably, I think my favorites, actually I think my favorite volume list goes exactly in my order of my favorite volumes. My favorite volume endings goes in the same as my favorite volumes, which I suppose I could get to right here and now. I don't know if I'm gonna make another video. I think I've said everything I need to say about this volume. It has issues, but it's not the worst volume of RWBY. It is nowhere as bad as people give it credit for. And every time I see a video on it, I'm like, I don't understand. Again, it's a personal preference thing. I get it. But it's when people go like, it is objectively the worst. What are you talking about? Okay, for me personally, let's go into my favorite volumes. I'd say my favorite volumes, and again, I think my favorite endings, I think it goes Volume 3, because that one's, it's so hard to top Volume 3. It's so well put together. It's got its flaws again. The over-reliance on fights bothers me, but again, it makes sense. It was a fucking tournament arc. If it didn't, that would have been the one to actually complain about. But you know, Volume 3, because the things it made me feel, and how much that sets the show. That volume makes RWBY what it is, I think. And I think that's such a good thing, and it introduced so many people and important things into the show, and I really do appreciate Volume 3. So I think it's definitely my favorite. I definitely think my second favorite goes to Volume 5. I think Volume 5 was incredibly well put together. It has serious issues. Again, pacing bugs the shit out of me, especially with those certain episodes. You know what I'm talking about. I mentioned them earlier. 8, 9, 10. The Blake not beating the shit out of the Albanes when she had the chance. You done goofed, girlfriend. That being said, again, it all worked out in the end, so I'm okay with it. But, you know, it was definitely a goof on her part. Other complaints, again, the last fight, absolutely think they should have had a fight. Not because it needed to have one in the last episode, but because the way they'd set it up, there should have been a fight to explain how we got from we're fucked to we're great. Yeah, I think we needed that. As for overall complaints, I think the fighting one is kind of bullshit. Again, if you want to have the choreography took a hit, it did, but they've grown so far in comparison to like the boat fight from the Volume 4. I say that 100% is they've done so well. They've done so well since the fucking Tyrion Crow fight, which is still one of my favorite fights. It still might be my favorite fight. It's kind of a difficult discussion between that and the Maidens. It's just so well put together. You're right, it isn't exactly a Monty fight. He had a very specific way of doing it. But it was still phenomenal. And some of them were better than Monty. They don't have the same building blocks, but that doesn't make them worse, you know? That's my personal opinion on it. Again, have no other complaints. in regards to the fights. Some people had, again, issues with the menagerie thing. I think they wrapped it up incredibly well. Some people I know think Ilya turned way too quickly. I don't think so. I think it was fine. I think it made sense for the situation. Doesn't bother me at all. I think pretty much all of the decisions in relation to the characters made sense. I'm glad we finally got to see Jean's semblance. I'm seriously fucking glad we didn't fucking lose Weiss. And I'm glad that they went so far as to, you know, hurt her all the same. That some people have this thing where, like, oh, if something happens and then it eventually gets reversed, oh, well, I guess it was pointless. No, it wasn't pointless. It had a point. It had a point to show off the stakes. It had a point to show off, in this case, to give Jean his moment, to give Jean his moment to get his semblance. And not only that, but show, you know, how much he cares for Weiss, which, dude, I ship the fuck out of Arcos. Of course I did. If you don't ship Arcos and you were a RWBY fan, you're doing something wrong, my boy. That being said, for the first time in my entire life, after that, I'm like, I wouldn't hate it in the slightest if Jean and Weiss actually did end up together. And I think that would actually be a really interesting way for their friendship to have developed over the years, considering how, you know, little they got along in the beginning. I actually really think that'd be a really touching thing for them to actually kind of resolve all that, and especially for Weiss to see Jean for as cool person as he is. Anyway, we're not here to talk about shipping. That comes later. I don't think there's another real big complaint that is worth talking about. I guess there's kind of the topic of quote-unquote wasted characters. I think that's fucking stupid. I don't think a character is ever really wasted. It would have been nice to see more of Sienna Khan, but we didn't need to. We just didn't. She had a cool design, I'll give you that. I love Monica Rial. Doesn't mean shit, though. Who gives a fuck? Not like fuck her character, but just like, who gives a fuck? She had her purpose. We didn't need her for anything else. It would have been cool to see more, but we didn't need her at all. Especially not considering we did need her to get the fuck out the way, though. People who say that Vernal was a wasted character, I have no idea what you're even talking about. Like, I can see where people are coming from with I almost called her Monica Rial, with Sienna Khan. I can see why people wanted to see more of her, and I can see why people would want to see more of Vernal. But that Vernal was a wasted character? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Vernal did everything she needed to do. She was a decoy. That was what Raven, not just like for the plot, but like Raven as a character, she was the decoy for. That was her purpose in life, not just in the story, but in life, was to be the decoy, to take the hit. That was her reason for not just existing in the show, but for existing as a person. That's not a wasted character. I'm glad we had her for what she did. She was cool. She turned the fucking tide of the battle in the final moments with Cinder and Raven. She's the one who, she didn't deliver the killing blow, but she's the one who set her the fuck up for the tea, you know? Don't know if that made any sense. But, you know, people say Vernal was a wasted character. You're out of your mind. I don't know what you're talking about. She was used perfectly. What are you talking about? She was cool. Again, a cool character doesn't mean they're a wasted character. Same thing with Pyrrha back in the day. She was not a wasted character. I recently just watched a reaction from, was it Cap KG and Jordy? I fucking love them. They're great. And Jordy just got to fucking the end of Volume 3 and came to Pyrrha and just became the saltiest fucking individual on the planet. This is not a video about that. I'm just saying, girl, you're taking it way too hard. I really hope you stick with RWBY and all that. I hope you get over it. It hit us all hard, but, you know, it wasn't lazy writing. It was actually really, really well put together. Stick with it, please. You're really fun to have around. Anyway, Shout outs to them, by the way. Absolutely check out the reactions and stuff. They did a phenomenal job on them so far, and having someone who has seen the show helping someone who hasn't seen the show and is totally lost 90% of the time is a great combo, and they do great together. This is not the fucking Cap KG and Jordy fucking appreciation episode. No, this is this. Anyway, point is, so, you know, complaints about Vernal being a wasted character, you out your mind. Again, I'm sure there's something I'm missing, but other than that, I don't think it's really worth addressing. I thought Volume 5 was really well done. It had issues, of course, but I don't think it had anywhere near enough issues to be like, oh, it's the worst volume. I can't understand that. I really can't. Especially anyone who's like, objectively, it's the worst. Objectively, my ass. It's all subjective. What are you talking about? Even everything I'm saying is subjective. So you can talk shit about what I'm saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, so yeah, Volume 3, Volume 5 is definitely my second. I think the next one, it's a difficult kind of toss-up between Volume 4 and 2. I think I have to give it to Volume 2. I mean, I've already given away what my least favorite of them all is. And I say that with love, because I still love all of them. It's just, I mean, by definition of a ranking list, one has to be at the bottom. But, you know, so I think I would go 3, 5, 2, 4, 1. From my personal favorite to my personal least favorite. And again, I say that with the absolute love, because I adore them all. It's just, I think 3 and 5 were the best so far. So, you know, I think that's my personal opinion on the show as it is up to date currently. I want to say thank you all for checking out the video. If you stuck around for an hour-and-a-half long video, what is wrong with you? And 2, I love you. I want to make sweet love to your chihuahua. I don't know what that even means, but it sounds horrible. Chris Hansen, I know you're usually about the kids, but I mean, not like that, but I'm just, let's move on. So, you know, I want to say thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Again, I cannot express this enough, and it's definitely going at the beginning of the video. I said a lot of mean things in this video to people who bitch and moan and complain about RWBY, and I'm bitching and moaning and complaining through the entire thing. I am so sorry if I hurt anyone's feelings, if I was just a douchebag, if anything like that. That wasn't the point. That wasn't what I meant to do. It's just it's been bothering me so much, and it's really gotten under my skin. And I sincerely hope the hatedom dies off here sooner rather than later. I hope we can get back into just enjoying this thing, and I hope more people can fall in love with the way I do. I don't know. So, you know, I'm so sorry if I bothered anyone, and you're 100% within your right to disagree with anything I said. If you do have disagreements, please tell me down in the comments below. I'd love to talk to people about it, as long as you're not a douche. I mean, that's awesome, and I will do my best not to be that as well. I realize I'm like, don't be a douche, and I'm like, I am doing the same thing. So, you know, I want to say thank you again for checking out the video. If you guys have anything to say, if you guys agree with me, if you guys disagree with me, tell me what your guys' favorite volumes are in order like I did. Tell me if you had problems, if there was things in particular you really, really loved. I think there's so many things in this volume that are just, I think it's the thing about RWBY, and I think the thing with this volume as well, it has seriously rough moments, but also has some of the best moments in the show. I think RWBY continues to grow every time, and I cannot wait to see what we have in the future. Again, I hope they iron out some of the wrinkles, but I'm still gonna love them no matter what they do. They would have to try an insanely difficult, like insanely high amount to fuck up the show for me not to love it. Yeah, so if you guys did enjoy it, like it. If you guys got anything to say, say them. If you guys care to show it around to anyone else, obviously it's an hour-and-a-half long video. No one's gonna sit through it. if even a single person watches this episode, I'm kind of gonna be surprised. Maybe one person, because I know there's one subscriber in particular who tends to stick around on all my RWBY videos. Thank you to you, good sir, and or madam, my friendo. I like you. Hopefully I didn't ruin everything by making this video. So yeah, share it around if you guys care, and if you guys want to stick around for other videos, by all means, please subscribe. I do reaction videos to different anime. I'm going to keep trying to do that for RT content. Obviously, that's kind of a bit of a discussion, because I think at this point I'm going to commit to just doing Red vs. Blue. As far as I know, there's not a problem with people putting up reactions. Multiple people have put up reactions to the show despite it not being on YouTube yet, and so far I don't see any thing with Rooster Teeth coming down on them for it. I need to continue shopping around to see more, and especially if there's anyone in the comments who happens to know, especially if there's any reactors out there who can tell me what's up, because I don't know. But I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Pretty soon I'm just going to commit to doing it. We'll have to wait and see. I don't want to piss anyone at RT off, you know? I don't want to be an asshole. Too fucking late for that. There's that. Apparently Camp is getting the same release schedule treatment thing, which depresses the shit out of me. But I guess if I'm going to be doing Red vs. Blue that way, I'm going to be doing Camp too, I suppose. Yeah. So I think that's the plan. I really hope they don't go that way with RWBY. I really hope they don't. It's especially difficult for someone like me because my internet's so terrible. I can't really... It's so hard for me to do reactions because my internet is terrible. So I can't even, you know, just handle watching the video and reacting to it in an orderly manner. It's buffering every 6 seconds. Anyway, there's all that. So yeah, stick around if you guys care for that. I try to do these kinds of videos, discussion stuff for every episode. I'm going to do reactions and discussions for RWBY when it comes back. Reactions for RWBY Chibi. Again, I'd like to put together that fanboy discussion video. I very recently put out a fucking song cover, which was a mistake, but also people have been insanely supportive of it, even though they definitely shouldn't have been. If you guys care to check it out, wear earmuffs, but not like earphones, but like muffs, just like block it all out. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry for such an insanely long video, but I needed to get this out. I'm sorry that I hit the wall, and I sincerely hope I won't be doing that next year. Not 100% sure if I'm gonna get back to doing scripted review cap videos, or if I'm just gonna stick around to doing review cap extras. I really like doing both, but I don't know. I don't know if they're harder to do. I mean, that's obvious. It's by far the most difficult content I make, and some people would be like, well, that means you put effort into it, which means people would like it more. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, but I'm a bitch. So yeah, I don't know what we see. I'd love to get people's opinions. I do really like just the candid nature of these kind of videos, though. Anyway, yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys love Volume 5 as much as I did, and I sincerely hope you guys will stick around for Volume 6, for me, for RT, for everyone, and I will see you guys, I guess, when that rolls around later this year. Toodles, duels, and lemons, everybody. I just realized I didn't really go back to comment. There was another big complaint, and that was RWBY's development. Millions of people have, well, not millions, but other people have totally said exactly my thoughts on it. It's just the kind of character she is. She's not supposed to be this character that constantly grows, or at least if she is, it's not, just because it doesn't happen yet doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. But if she was just the kind of character who's a perpetual optimist, okay, it's a character you don't get to see often enough. It's the Captain Americas of the world. I've never seen Madoka Magica, but as far as I know, Madoka is that kind of character as well. It's that kind of person, you know? I don't know. Yeah, I'll leave you guys alone now. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sticking around. Oh god, it's so long. Like my dick.